your sunglasses at, man? You got to get with the crew here. Where are they?
Apparently, I wasn't notified.
Ah, man. I'll send you a pair for Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, welcome to the How to Sell Insurance podcast. My name is Ryan Federico. I'm here as always with my esteemed colleagues, steamed like the milk in my latte that I'm drinking right now. Mr. Ashton DeLango Lunday, the pride of Pensacola, Florida, and Senior DJ Debt Free, Mr. Keith Fonseca.
Eating my Aero bar from Canada.
There you go. Coming to you live from Jersey, who's been in Canada for the last couple days where it was freezing cold.
It was effing freezing.
Yes, exactly. And we are actually recording this on the week of Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to all of y'all. You will not hear this until well after Thanksgiving, but hopefully you had a great one. You didn't eat too much, and you didn't let a holiday turn into a holla week, and you're actually back working.
Holla!
Holla! What we want to talk about today is we're heading into the holiday season, and whether we're talking about Thanksgiving or whether we're talking about any of the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, anything like that. Also, New Year's. Also, just being that we're coming up towards the end of the year. If you're working with clients, you're going to get the natural response of, hey, let's pick this up after the holiday, or let's pick this up at the beginning of the year. Hey, I can't do anything between now and the end of the year, or something like that. And how do you get those people on your calendar? How do you create the urgency to get them on your calendar, showing up and executing, whatever insurance product that they need help with before the end of the year on your time, right? So there's a lot of different strategies for this. Big shout out to Nate Offert. If anybody hasn't looked up Nate Offert, the guy is incredible when it comes to not only insurance training, but just general mindset, business training. Just one of the most incredible voices in our industry. And he did a training for us a few years ago, and it really kind of revolutionized how I set appointments throughout the holidays. And hopefully we want to share some of those strategies with you guys and let you hopefully have a lot of success throughout the holiday season. So I wanted to just kind of go to both of you guys. We'll go to Keith first, and just in general, we're talking about creating urgency, whether this is the holidays or whether it's just a Tuesday and they're like, let's do it in 2 weeks, or something like that. What are some of the ways that you're creating urgency, Keith, when you really want to, set an appointment in your calendar versus kind of bend to what they want? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, first of all, since Thanksgiving is a couple of days away, I want to just say how grateful I am for all the listeners, for all the people in this industry and our company who have given us a place and a platform to sort of express ourselves. I'm grateful for you, Ryan and Ashton, for giving me a spot to be a part of this, 3-person team. I'm super grateful for the fact that I'm going to spend the next 48 hours praying for the Giants to beat the Cowboys, so it'll be a special Thanksgiving. Yeah. And I'm sure by the time you hear this podcast, Odell Beckham will be a Cowboy, and the Cowboys will have crushed us. So, and they're a senior front runner out in the middle of Pensacola, Florida.
Hey, listen, the 49ers already got their victory this week, so I get to kick my feet up.
You're set. It's funny. I'm going to go back to something, that we started talking about at the beginning, being mom, the master of mindset. I'm really talking about, when I'm talking with new agents, but it especially applies here. We have the greatest urgency set in any sort of industry in which we're moving or persuading people to action.
Absolutely.
In that we don't know the day, right? Today, unfortunately, while we're shooting this, every day in between now and the day that you hear this, someone's going to pass away. Multiple people are going to pass away. Many people are going to pass away, and it's going to be a horrible Thanksgiving for someone. It's going to be a horrible Christmas for someone, because a loved one, just on that day, their body will fail, and they'll move on to the next, part of whatever this journey is. And so 2 things stick out to me when I'm talking to people and they're putting that in front of me, right? It's like on a regular basis, I want to be able to say to them, hey, I totally understand that. I too have a family. We got a lot going on. Here's the thing, right? So that here's the thing sort of wakes them up. You know, it's like in the appointment where I say, here's what we're going to do. And the phone call, it's here's the thing. And then what needs to come next needs to come strong in the form of like, I've also got a lot going on in this business.
Yeah.
And I'm here to take care of you right now. Like, yeah, here's the thing. I've got about 200 more families to get with in the next few days. Everybody wants to close out the year making sure their family is protected. And on top of that, I'm well aware that the insurance carriers are meeting in the fourth quarter to re-examine the cost of insurance starting in the first quarter. And I would really hate to not be able to get in front of you guys and solve this issue for you this week or in the next few days. I might not be able to get back to you for like 4 or 5 months. There's so much demand out there with the pandemic and what's going on in the world. Are you sure that we can't get this knocked out today or tomorrow so that you don't have to worry about it throughout the holiday season and it's just taken care of? And so it really comes down to my mindset, my urgency, my perspective on like, here's the thing. That's super important. And then laying out the plan that we need to execute. One plan is we might not get together for 4 or 5 months. And if they're okay with that, they probably weren't buying insurance anyways, right? There's no urgency, there's no priority, there's no need. And to me, that like works all year round. It just so happens I'm putting, you know, family and the holidays in front of it. Also, I'm able to, you know, instill a little bit of a, hey, you'll pay more mindset. Yeah. And right around the holidays, everyone's so concerned about money anyways. Why pay more for anything?
Right.
So that's like the first level of where I'd go.
Totally. Yeah. And what I would say, you know, this happens a lot when I'm going to book appointments with somebody, and let's say I'm looking to book my calendar out for the weekend, and I'm like, hey, I've got time available Saturday and Sunday. And they're like, well, hey, this weekend's really bad. How about, 2 weeks from now or something like that? And my first initial inclination, I think when I was a new agent, probably like a lot of you guys listening, was just like, oh, okay, I'll put you on my calendar for the 22nd. That's the time that works best for you. And then I came to realize that like consumers, especially consumers in the United States, we're prone to putting things off, and we're prone to pushing back against salespeople. And so there usually wasn't really any good reason why they needed to push it till the 22nd. It's just that they kind of wanted to kick the can down the road. So I would say something like, actually, I'm pretty booked up for the second half of the month. I'm not going to be able to put anybody in my calendar, but I do have some time available tomorrow and Thursday, right? Or something like that, where I would just say, yeah, actually, no, I'm really booked up at that time, but I do have some time available tomorrow and the next day, whatever way to get them back to the time that I was originally suggesting. And a lot of times they would just go, okay, that's fine. Another point I would mention is they may be thinking that I'm only working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And if my hours are different, I want to make sure that they know that my hours are different. So if they're like, well, we can do it on the 22nd, maybe they're thinking that's the next day during the week that they have off, that they could actually do something like this. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to come back to them and say, hey, I'm all booked up that week actually, but I do have some time available tomorrow and Thursday. And I work with people typically until about 9 p.m. their local time. And so I'm usually meeting with people during the evening or over the weekends because that's when they're available. So what about later on that evening? Would like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. work? And now they're going, oh yeah, that would work perfectly. The kids are in bed. We've already had dinner, et cetera, et cetera. And so that it moves them back into let's get this taken care of now rather than let's do it in 2 weeks from now or something like that. Ashton, I'll defer to you when somebody wants to book something out further, they want a delay or something like that. What are some of the things you find yourself saying to them?
Yeah, for me, a lot of times I found people just don't want to be bothered on time off. They think it's going to be a 2, 3, 4, 5 hour process that we're going to come together, we're going to sit down, and we're going to be here for 4 hours. And like, oh my goodness, it's the holidays. I got maybe family will be coming later in the week, whatever it is. Do I really want to spend my only off time sitting down for 5 hours talking to this guy about insurance? And so
Right.
the first thing I do is simply, when I try to set can we do it later? Hey, I completely understand. They actually have me over here in, ABC County on this day and this day this week. And honestly, I got about 40 to 60 other people I have to call through and help. And I'm really only going to have about 15 or 20 minutes to sit down and go over these options with you. And that's all the time it takes me. How long it takes anyone else. I'm only going to have 15 or 20 minutes to go over these options. I wish I had, 2-3 hours to sit down and hang out with you. Unfortunately, I don't. I got about 15 to 20 other families to see this week. And so I'm looking at my calendar here. It looks like I got Monday or Tuesday. Which day is going to be best for you? And I typically don't get any more pushback.
Yeah. Dude, I love that so much because, I feel, and maybe you guys would agree or disagree with this, but I feel like a lot of times with new agents specifically, when they're struggling on the phones, a lot of times because they're asking so many questions and their script is so long and they're giving so many detailed, wordy responses that the client just feels like, oh man, this appointment's going to take hours. It's not simple. It's not easy. It's not quick and direct and to the point. And so a couple things that you said. Number one is just letting the client know this is going to be fast, right? This isn't going to be hours or something like that, and giving them at least the acknowledgement that this is going to be fast. But then on top of that, you being the one in control, and this is so important. I hope you guys all listening to this are taking notes, because I noticed the other day that I do this. I know that Keith does this. Clearly, Ashton just said it, which is when I'm setting an appointment, I'm going, listen, I'm only going to have about 15 or 20 minutes to go over this with you at that time. And so it's hey, I may be able to squeeze you into my calendar on Thursday or Friday, but I'm only going to have 15 or 20 minutes to go over this with you at that time. So we can knock it out then. But just so you know, I'm going to be on a pretty tight timeline here. And they hear that and they go, oh, cool, 15 or 20 minutes, easy. He's busy. He's moving around. He's only got, a little bit of time to talk about this. I can commit to that. Rather than you giving them a whole diatribe on have all your medications out for me but write all this stuff down and I need your birth certificate and triplicate and I need all this stuff. You're telling them you need all this stuff for the appointment. Then you're sending them an email, to confirm the appointment that's 5 paragraphs long that explains all about your background and all the stuff that nobody cares about and they're not reading. But you make the appointment seem super long and difficult for them to get through. And that's why they're not showing up, right? Because they're I don't want any part of that. If you're just man, this is super quick and easy. I only got 15 or 20 minutes. I can knock this out with you. I love that, Ashton, because they're going to show up more often than not. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Keith, let's talk about the holidays now, man. So somebody says here it is. It's Thanksgiving. For full transparency for everybody, right now it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. This is a perfect example. So we're calling today. We're setting an appointment with somebody, or we're looking to set an appointment with somebody. Now, this is a little bit different if you're working warm market, because you may see your warm market around the holidays. But we're talking about leads or people who've requested insurance, calling them, and their natural response is going to be tomorrow's the day before Thanksgiving. Then it's Thanksgiving, then it's Black Friday. So what are some of the things that you're saying to people to get them to book with you later today or tomorrow? Rather than say, let's just pick this up after Thanksgiving?
Well, there's a couple of things that you mentioned earlier that sort of play a role in what I'm saying. First of all, I think it's super important. Some of us like to sort, right, rather than schedule. So if I'm scheduling someone, right, I can certainly create enough appointments of people who say they're going to show up but don't really have any inkling or a need for insurance.
For sure.
Right, so when I was working with some of my new folks the other day, and oftentimes we gear this towards new folks, but experienced people need to be reminded that the foundational practice of this is getting with people that need coverage, right? Don't want coverage, aren't interested in coverage, right? Someone who needs something will take action quickly. So I would rather have 5 appointments of people who show up and plan to buy than 15 appointments of people who show up I have to convince to buy. Right. And so in that vein, right, some of us like to make it sound super easy. I'm one of those people that are sorting the people out in the pre-interview, what I'll call the triage of setting the appointment, of telling them you need this, you need this, you need this, not making it super long or difficult, but also identifying that they are understanding what the process is so they don't walk into something they don't expect.
Totally.
Because oftentimes when they walk into something, when we walk into like a scary house, when we don't expect what's coming, we're already bracing for the fear, right? So in sales resistance, it's typically walking into something I don't expect, so I brace for what's coming, so I resist, right? But if I'm able to say, in this appointment, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, you'll need this, this, and this, I'm typically having my people let them know what's coming, let them know what they need. Because I just remember when I used to go into a home, Ryan, and you taught me this part of it, I'd walk in. When they had their medications on the table, an application was taking place, right? So now in a Zoom appointment, when they have everything ready, yes, I have my driver's license ready. I have my checkbook sitting right here. You said we need the routing number and account number for the bank account. Then I'm getting people ready, which is kind of opposite to what you just said earlier, making it sound a little bit more than it is, but typically when those folks are showing up. So that's why when they're setting the same day or tomorrow, and I've told them everything that's going to take place, including we're going to do an application, including what you need, right? And it doesn't always go perfectly that way. When they show up, I expect them to buy. Now, why does this sorting thing play such a big role? Because the holidays, believe it or not, are only different in the mind of the client. They should not be different in the mind of the agent. So the client is going to act like I've got all these bills coming up and I've got all this, time with family and stuff coming up and I have to push this off. And in the mind of the agent, it's like, well, that happens all year round. When don't you have bills? When don't you have family? When don't you have distractions? So the easiest way, in my opinion, to move through that is to quickly tell a story. Oh yeah, I've been doing this 6 years. Let me tell you about this client who pushed me off from last year right around Christmas. Well, they're not here anymore and we didn't get a policy in place and I feel pretty badly. So I would hate for that to happen here. Is there no way we can just get this knocked out today or tomorrow? All I really need is about 15 to 20 minutes to spend with you. That's all I'm really going to have. We're going to quickly go over your medicals, your financials. I'm going to present you options that make sense. You're going to pick the one you can afford. We'll fill out an application, so that's how we know if you qualify. If you qualify by the end of the appointment, you'll never ever have to worry about this again. What could be more important to your family at the holidays than making sure they're protected? Like, use that, folks, out there. What could be more important to your family at the holidays than making sure they're protected? Because I guarantee many of you listening to this are sympathetic to people like, oh, I got a Christmas shop, I got a holiday shop, I got a this and that. And I guarantee many of you listening to this are parents. And I ask you right now, are your kids still playing with the toys you got them last Christmas? Or have they moved on to something else? Right? But this Christmas, this holiday season, for other folks that celebrate other holidays, look at all the people looking for gift donations. And if we could survey them, how many of them had an income earner lose their life, lose their income because of heart attack, cancer, stroke, and are now looking for gift donations?
Right.
Right? It's not like they suddenly just became poor. It wasn't like they all lost their job. Right? We know 51% of people lose their home due to death or permanent disability. It's not job loss. So
Sure.
If they're looking for gift donations at the holiday season, is it because someone, an important income earner, lost their life and now that income's gone and that's why they need the donations?
Yeah.
So really placing that emphasis, to me, on like what could be more important to your family than making sure they're covered at the holiday season.
Yeah, that's a great line, and you guys should hopefully all be taking notes about that too. What could be more important to your family than making sure you're protected throughout the holiday season? That's awesome. And just for clarity for everybody listening, I think my point earlier was that, like, you just heard Keith essentially role play his wrap up of an appointment. And that's what we call conscious competence. So that's somebody who's been doing this for many years that knows exactly what to say and says it within, 15 seconds and makes it seem super effortless. But if Keith wrote that all out and was and was teaching it to somebody going like, we need to establish these things at the end of an appointment, and then a new agent read what was all written out, it's going to sound much longer, much more complicated, much less easy, and it typically doesn't go over well. So until you have that level of conscious competence, just remember, are you making this appointment sound easy, or are you making this appointment sound difficult? Whether or not you're intimating that they're going to buy in this appointment is kind of up to you and whoever's guiding you. But are you, either way, Keith just intimated that they're going to buy if they show up to the appointment, but he made it sound the appointment super easy. Like they should show up and it's going to be no big deal.
Agreed.
It's going to be fast. So Ashton, what about you? Somebody, it's Thanksgiving, right now it's Tuesday, you're calling somebody and they're like, hey, can you just give me a call back after the holiday? What are some of the things that you're saying to get them on your calendar today or tomorrow?
Yeah, again, for me, it's just going to be the same thing of, letting them know that this isn't going to be this long, drawn-out process. I don't have that kind of time. I wish I did. If I had that kind of time, I tell agents all the time, when they, are you going to micromanage me? Hey, listen, if I had that kind of time, if I could ask you every day, hey, did you brush your teeth? Did you put your pajamas on? I'd probably have a lot more money than I do. And I don't have 3 hours to sit down and talk with you. I only have a few minutes because I have to help so many families. And I just reinforce that throughout the appointment. And if for some reason that doesn't work next, I take an approach much similar to Keith. Like, hey, I only got about 15 to 20 minutes. They have me this day. Well, listen, man, I really have to do it after the holidays. Hey, no, I completely understand. Now, that's not a problem, John. And when you guys sent this request in, remind me again, why is it you guys were looking for coverage? Well, I got to make sure that something happens that my wife is going to be taken care of. Wow, okay. And John, what do you guys have in place right now financially, if anything, to take care of that mortgage? Well, nothing. Wow. It definitely sounds like this is really important then to make sure that we get this mortgage protection put in place. Well, like I said, John, it looks like I have some availability either later today or tomorrow. When's going to be best for the two of you to be together?
Totally, man. I love that. And just getting back. So if you're hearing both some similarities there, Ashton really is just getting back into the why do you want insurance, right? And why did you request this if we have a lead? Why is this important to you? Let's shake you out of your, whatever you were doing 5 minutes ago before I called you. You're at the grocery store or you're, at your house and you're doing something or whatever, and I called you out of the blue and you're kind of half paying attention to what I'm saying anyway. Let's shake you back into why I'm even calling you, like why you requested insurance, what you want, and refocus your mind on like, oh yeah, that's right. I want this. This is important. If I don't have this, we're going to be screwed, or whatever. So I love that, connecting with that why. And, Keith is more connecting with what he's assuming the why is for most people, which is correct, which is the fear of the unknown, which is do you know somebody who's passed away during the holidays? Do you know somebody who's, put something off and then it came back to haunt them that they put it off? Yes. Yeah, I know both those people. Okay, well, let's not be those people, right? Let's get this done right now. Here's a story that I can tell you, a third-party story of this woman that died in January, and we talked in the beginning of November, and unfortunately she wanted to wait until the beginning of the year too, and now she's gone and her family lost the house, or like whatever. You can tell stories as well to validate. For me, I think I'm going to give you guys the third option, and the third option is overcoming it before it happens. And so if I know that most of the people that I'm going to talk to are going to be naturally in the call me back after the holidays, I'm going to preempt that. Let's give you the example of Thanksgiving. And I'm going to say, hey, obviously, a lot of people want to kick this thing out past the holidays. So I'm just absolutely slammed from Black Friday all throughout next week. But I do have a couple slots I might be able to fit you into today and tomorrow. I typically work with people until about 9 p.m. their local time. So, for instance, tomorrow I have a 7:45 and an 8:30, but I'm only going to have like 15 or 20 minutes to go over this with you because I'm just fitting as many people in as I can fit in before the holiday. So, would sometime either later today or tomorrow work for you? And I'm gonna overcome the I'm slammed next week. Everybody wanted to do that. I've got times available, or I'm doing the reverse. And I'm saying something like, hey, as you know, everybody wants to get this done before Thanksgiving. And so they're all piling in my calendar, right? Because they've got the time off work or their work schedule is light. And before they go back to work after Thanksgiving, they want to get this thing knocked out before they travel because they're, worried about what happens if something happens on their travels or they're going to be around family. And so, as you can imagine, people really want to get on my calendar before Thanksgiving. So I've got a couple slots I might be able to squeeze you into, but I'm only going to have 15 or 20 minutes to go over this with you. I typically work with people until about 8 or 9 p.m. their local time, so I do have a little bit of flexibility there. If we were going to look for a time, later today or tomorrow, what do you think would look good for you so I could get you guys and see if I have some availability in my calendar, right? That's one of the things that I'm gonna pull up for them. Same thing with Christmas. Same thing with the end of the year. I love what Keith is saying, where it's like insurance companies change their pricing. Now, we don't know if insurance companies are going to change their pricing in the first quarter or if they're going to change their pricing in the summer. We've had it happen that they've changed their pricing in January 1st, in March 1st, in June 1st. So insurance companies change their pricing whenever they want. However, we know they're going to change their pricing, right? We know that's for sure going to happen. As death rates continue, the average age of death continues to get lower, and as more market variations like inflation and stuff like that happen, they're going to change their pricing. We know that for sure. And so I love to intimate, hey, as you know, a lot of companies, they're tallying things up at the end of the year, and they're changing their pricing at the beginning of the year as the new year starts. I don't say, hey, Mutual of Omaha is going to change their pricing on January 1st, unless I know that that's going to happen. I just say, as you know, a lot of companies are tallying things up at the end of the year. They're looking at inflation, they're looking at whatever, and they're going to change their pricing at the beginning of the year. And then I say something like, it's never going to be cheaper for you to get insurance than right now, which is true, because every day they get older, insurance gets more expensive. So I say something like that, where it's a little bit more, I don't feel like I'm misleading them at all. I'm just saying a lot of companies tabulate stuff at the end of the year, and then they change their pricing at the beginning of the year, and it's never going to be cheaper to get insurance for you than today. When you're this age, at this health. And so why don't we just get this knocked out now? Or, hey, we're again, I can preempt it and go, man, as you know, people go back to work at the beginning of the year. They've got a lot of time off in between Christmas and New Year's. So everybody wants to meet with me in between Christmas and New Year's, and I'm just packed. My schedule is full. I may be able to squeeze you in and find some time when I can meet with you between Christmas and New Year's. But I'm only going to have about 15 or 20 minutes to go over this with you. So again, what everybody's doing, keeping up with the Joneses. Everybody wants to get on my calendar between Christmas and New Year's because they have a light work schedule and they want to knock this out before life gets busy at the beginning of the year. They want to make sure that prices don't change in January and their price doesn't go up. They want to get this knocked out because they're around family. Like any of the reasons I can give them to go, this is why you're going to want to get on my calendar right now, because everybody else wants to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that typically gets people to move. So you heard 3. You heard, somebody tapping into the why of why did you do this and what would your situation look like. That's Ashton to build urgency. You heard Keith really projecting some assumed whys and then sharing a third-party story, and then me giving them or overcoming the objection before it happens and giving them reasons why they should get on my calendar now because everybody's doing it. And I'm making points like you're probably off work on Wednesday too, so it's going to be a good time to meet with you at 11 a.m. on Wednesday because you don't have to work. They're probably not even thinking that the day before Thanksgiving that it would be a good time to meet with them because they got a light work day. They're just thinking Thanksgiving's on Thursday, right? They're not even thinking, oh yeah, I'm off work on Black Friday. Like Friday would be a good day to meet because I'm not working. Yeah. They're just thinking it's the holidays and just push it off till next week. So you heard those 3 final thoughts. Ashton, we'll go to you first on your final thoughts. Anything that you want to add to this, and then Keith will go to you and shut this thing down.
Yeah, I mean, very simply, it's posture. That's what it comes down to on everything. You can have the exact words, the exact script. You can have everything we just said and still not do anything and still have the same result you're getting right now, because it's all about posture. It doesn't matter if you copy this down verbatim, replay it back 85 times to get every word right. It's all about posture and tone. Because if you go in there and go, hey, so I have to meet you this week. I'm really busy. I talked to a lot of people.
Would it be okay if we could do it today or tomorrow?
If you don't mind. Exactly. They're still not going to book. It's all about posture and coming from a position of strength, not weakness.
Totally. Keith, what do you think? Last thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with Ashton. I want to drop a little teaser for a future podcast in that we need to really dive into the difference between service and leadership. Right. So if I'm working in a restaurant, I'm a server. If I'm working in hospitality, I'm a server. If I'm working in sales, I need to be a leader. And so when I'm setting these things, the posture of a leader is we need to get this done. We need to move. It's why sales is defined in the dictionary as the persuasion of others to move to action. It is not the service of others to give them what they want so they buy. That's not what people want. It's why so many people fail at setting appointments at the holidays, fail at life insurance. And on every single podcast we've done, it gets back to posture and control. Leadership. Every single podcast. So we need to dive more into our listening audience for the difference between service and leadership. Because if you see yourself as a server, get out now. Get to learning something else. If you don't see yourself as a leader, maybe this is the wrong industry for you.
Yeah. My final thoughts are, I hope that you've gotten some value out of this. I hope that you all have an awesome Thanksgiving. I know you're going to hear this after Thanksgiving, but I hope you've had a great time with family. If you're eating turkey or if you're eating tofurkey like we eat in California out here for all my vegans, whatever it is that you get to enjoy time, you get to spend some time finding that gratitude and the things that you're thankful for, and that you're able to really help families. And so I think that's kind of my last thought, is that right now, between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, is the Super Bowl of insurance, because everybody's around holidays, everybody's around family, everybody's thinking about gifts and buying and cash flow. We naturally, just because of the shorter days and it gets dark earlier, we go into gathering mode, right? As human beings, we go into gathering mode. And so we're gathering and taking care of insurance and things like that. So it's a natural time to be talking to family and friends and former coworkers and people that you're going to see at the office holiday party about, their family and their friends, and people that you used to, go to school with, about their family and friends, and to really make a huge impact on your community at large by helping get people covered on insurance when they're thinking about it and they have the feeling of wanting to protect themselves. So hope you guys all have an amazing holidays. As always, like and subscribe. You can get this podcast anywhere that podcasts are housed. Go to writemoreapps.com and make sure that you check out some of our other videos. We will be back to you with some fresh content, and Keith just gave you a preview of what sounds like our next podcast is going to be. So everybody enjoy the holidays. Later.
Peace, everyone.